The Almighty Allah, our Creator Rabbul Alameen, says in the Quran, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Indeed, from Allah do we come, and unto Him shall be our return, or to Him is our return, or to Him we shall return. SubhanAllah, that verse is in Surah Al-Baqarah. My name is Muhammad. I completed my memorization of the Quran at age 12. During high school, I got average grades to some even below average. After completing high school, I got rejected by every college and university that I applied for. And so, subhanAllah, I decided to turn it all around. So at 19, I graduated cum laude from an Islamic institution here in Cape Town, South Africa, after studying Islamic studies full-time for 1 year. And as of early 2025, I am a computer science major at the University of Cape Town. In case you were wondering who am I and why you might be interested to listen to me, inshallah that introduction can help you figure that out. SubhanAllah, do an experiment with me really quick if you don't mind. I want you to genuinely imagine that this was your last day on this earth, that you weren't gonna wake up tomorrow morning, right? Think genuinely. I mean, if you need to pause the video, but make it feel as real as possible. Like, subhanAllah, this is your last day. What would you do? What does your mindset look like? Right? How do you start thinking? What do you start thinking about? How do you start acting? What do you need to do still? SubhanAllah. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And you already knew that. Right? You already knew tomorrow wasn't guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to wake up tomorrow morning. So don't you think that's interesting? SubhanAllah, don't you think that's kind of interesting? And SubhanAllah, I mean, I'm not gonna act like, SubhanAllah, I necessarily live my life to where I imagine I'm gonna pass away tomorrow. But SubhanAllah, don't you think it's just interesting the way we live our lives? We know tomorrow isn't guaranteed. But yet when I say and when I ask you to imagine today is gonna be your last day, all of a sudden you start thinking about other things. You're like, and subhanAllah, you're all of a sudden not gonna live a day like you usually do. And that's super interesting, right? But subhanAllah, I don't want to use the timeline of one day. I don't want to say today's gonna be your last day. Neither do I want to use a week. And I'll tell you why, because I don't want to say, okay, imagine today was your last day, or imagine this week is your last week on this earth. Why? Is because I think that time allows you to kind of be extreme. And like, if I really subhanAllah, if Allah really told you, like, right now that this is your last week, you'll be extreme, and subhanAllah, you'll quit your job, you'll start, subhanAllah, I don't know, you'll start being frantic and fearful, and you'll just start moving really quick, because a week isn't that long. Now a month becomes interesting, because a month, Allah says, okay, you have a month to live. Okay, that's interesting. To some of us, we can still quit our jobs and drop school and whatever the case may be, but 1 year is really where things get interesting. If I said, or subhanAllah, if Allah said to you some way, and subhanAllah, I hope I'm not, astaghfirullah, I hope I'm not like crossing any boundaries here by saying that like Allah, with this hypothetical, but anyway, so let's just say you knew that this was going to be your last year on this earth. So not necessarily that you're definitely going to live 1 year, but like within this next year, within this next 365 days, you will pass away. You don't know when, but it's going to be in this next year. SubhanAllah, I think it's so, and this conversation is very similar to the whole conversation around death that I mentioned a couple of videos ago, because it's really super interesting what it does to our minds. Like, subhanAllah, all of a sudden we start thinking about other things, we start prioritizing and valuing different things, we start genuinely becoming serious about where we're spending our time and what actions we're doing. And SubhanAllah, I think that's so interesting when we think about death in general. But SubhanAllah, again, if you knew that you were going to pass away in this next 365 days, how would you live your life? And you might be sitting and saying like, okay, this is all hypothetical, so what? Well, when I was thinking about this, I was like, how far is it really from reality? How hypothetical really is this hypothetical? Because subhanallah, as I mentioned earlier, we don't know that tomorrow is guaranteed. We don't know that next week is guaranteed. So subhanallah, to make it seem like, oh yeah, well, who's to say that I only have 365 days left? Well, true, I don't know that for sure. But at the same time, you don't even know that you have 5 days left on this earth, subhanallah. And at the same way, I can't guarantee that you have a year, is the same way you can't guarantee you have 5 days. SubhanAllah, you see what I'm saying? But anyway, the reminder, subhanAllah, to myself and whoever is watching this, is just almost considering this as a mindset that your time is limited, and it is, right? SubhanAllah, I think just remembering it is important. That what if you only had a year left? How would you act? How would you behave? What would you do? How would you think? What type of mindset would you have? What type of goals and objectives would you have, right? Because everything changes. SubhanAllah, if you knew this for a fact, that like in the next year you will pass away. And subhanAllah, I think it's just interesting as a mindset to almost experiment with yourself. Because subhanAllah, I think different people will have sort of different responses, when you consider this. But subhanAllah, I think it's super interesting what happens mentally to us when we start thinking that we don't have much time left. SubhanAllah, as if life was ever guaranteed. Subhanallah. Inshallah, Allah guide and protect us all.